All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are here to talk about adding and subtracting decimals. We wanted to do this in a video today so you have a chance to watch it and learn how to add and subtract decimals. But if you have any questions or any concerns while you watch the video, pause it, write those questions down, and then share it with your math teacher when you get back. Also, you can always rewind the video, so if you are confused about how we did a step, please pause it, rewind it, and watch it again. We are going to start off with an adding problem. I want to point out to you that on every slide we have a reminder. Line up the decimals. Lining up the decimals and adding and subtracting decimals is by far the most important thing. We will say it over and over. So our adding problem is negative 4 and 75/100ths plus negative 3 and 2/10ths. We are adding two negatives, and we have learned last week that adding same signs, add and keep, different signs, subtract. Well, these are the same signs, so we're just going to add them together. We have negative 4 and 75/100ths plus negative 3 and 2/10ths. We see here underneath the 5, there's no number. Anytime you don't have a number behind a decimal, we can add a 0 there. So now we have 3 and 20/100ths. Now, we already talked about same signs, add and keep. So we're going to make that a negative. Now, we just need to add like we always have. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 2 is 9. Carry the decimal straight down so all of your decimals are in order, or in line, excuse me. And 4 plus 3 is 7. So our answer is 7 and 95/100ths.
Alright, we're going to do a word problem real quick, so read along as I read it out loud. Kyle purchased some Nike socks for $16.78 and some new Jordans for $153.89. If he paid with two $100 bills, how much change should Kyle receive? So let's go back through the problem here. So it said he had socks for $16.78 and new Jordans for $153.89, and he paid with two $100 bills. So my question is, how much change should Kyle receive? Okay, first we need to make sure we understand the problem. His two purchases, we need to figure out the total for those. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add up those two purchases. So we have $16.78 plus $153.89. Remember, the most important part when you're adding and subtracting is to line up the decimals. Don't forget it. Okay, let's go ahead and add. So 8 plus 9, 17. 8 plus 8, 16. And we have 10, 7, and 1. Be sure to bring down your decimal. So I have $170.67. That's my total for my two purchases. Okay, if you paid with two $100 bills, well, first let's figure that out. Two $100, that's $200. Okay, I have an issue. I don't have a decimal here, so I have to decide where it goes. If I put it here, that changes it quite a bit. Okay, be sure that if there's not a decimal, it goes in the back. So 200 becomes 200. Decimal in my 2 zeros for the cents. Okay, now I can go ahead and line up my decimals. I'm going to bring my total and subtract. Remember, line up your decimals. I need to go ahead and borrow. I can't take this away from 0, so I borrow all the way from the 2. And I would borrow to 0 and I'd have 10, but I have to borrow again. So I have 9, 9, 9, and finally I get to keep it. Here's my 10. Now I can subtract 10 minus 7, 9 minus 6, 9 minus 0, 9 minus 7, and 1 minus 1. So how much change should he receive? $29.33.
Alright, now we have the next problem is 3 and 24/100ths minus 5 and 2/10ths. I immediately see a problem here. I see 3 minus 5. That right there should be a heads up. We're going to have to add the opposite or keep flip change. Anytime you're subtracting a number that is, anytime you're subtracting a number that is larger than the number you're subtracting from, you're going to have to do KFC or add the opposite. So, all right, so there's KFC. I'm going to rewrite it here. 3 and 2400ths plus, because my minus becomes a plus, a negative 5 and 2 tenths. What's the most important thing? Line up the decimals. When we're adding negatives, we do same signs add and keep, different signs subtract. Do these have same signs? Nope. So they have different signs, so we're going to subtract, take the sign of the larger number, so we know my answer is going to be a negative, because a larger number is a negative 5.2. We're going to subtract. The 5 and 2 tenths is going to go on top. 3 and 2400ths is going to go on bottom. We are subtracting. Right? I have a problem. I don't have a number above the 4. Once again, here's a place we can add a 0. Can't do 0 minus 4, so I got to borrow from the 2. It becomes a 1. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. Can't do 1 minus 2, so that becomes an 11. Borrow from the 5, that becomes a 4. 11 minus 2 is 9. Bring our decimal straight down. 4 minus 3 is 1. We already discussed it will be negative, so negative 1 and 9600ths. If you feel you need to, you may go back and check that with your rules for adding. Last problem here we're going to do with you. Again, please bring any questions that you might have for any of your math teachers about this video, and we will discuss them in class. Most important idea that I want you to come back from is line up the decimals. Your math teacher will say that repetitively. We have negative 23 and 2 tenths minus a negative 0 and 8500ths. We have minus a negative, so your teacher will tell you to add the opposite or KFC. Let's try that again. There we go. Negative 23 and 2 tenths plus a positive 8500ths. Okay. Same signs add and keep, different signs subtract. These have different signs. The negative 23 is larger or further from 0, therefore we're going to keep this negative. Same signs add and keep, different signs subtract. Despite 85 being bigger than the 2 tenths, the 23 is a larger number. So we are going to subtract and add that 0 above the 5. Can't do 0 minus 5, so I make that into a 10. The 2 becomes a 1. 10 minus 5 is 5. Can't do 1 minus 8, so I make it 11. That becomes a 2. 11 minus 8 is 3. Carry your decimal straight down. 2 minus 0 is 2. 2 minus 0 is 2. So our final answer is negative 22 and 3500ths. And if I were to add on a negative 8500ths, I would come back to 23 and 2 tenths. Remember, subtracting a negative, we take negatives away from a negative 23, making it closer to 0. If you have any questions, please bring it back to Ms. Perdue, Mr. Rauch, or Mr. Wallace. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.